Welcome, everyone. One of the best ways to prepare for the IELTS speaking test is to see it in action. That's exactly what we're doing today with this complete mock test from Spinta. As you listen, think about what the candidate does well and where they could improve. Afterwards, we'll compare notes with a full performance breakdown. Let's begin.
Good morning. Please tell me your full name.
Good morning. My name is Maria Gonzalez. You can call me Maria. I am from a city in the south of my country, and I have been living in the capital for almost 3 years now, for work and study.
Thank you. Can I see your identification, please?
Yes, of course. Here it is. Sorry, the card, sometimes it is a bit worn, but it should be fine.
Right. Now I'd like to ask you some questions about where you live. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I live in a small apartment in a block of flats. It is not very big, but it is comfortable for me. The apartment has 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, and a living room. I live alone, so I don't need much space. But sometimes when my family come to visit, it feels a little crowded, you know.
Why did you choose to live there?
Well, when I moved to the capital, I wanted somewhere near my office and the university, so it was mostly for convenience. Also, the rent was reasonable compared to other places near the center. I had been looking for about 2 months, and this one had the best combination of price and location.
How long have you lived there?
I have been lived there for almost 3 years. Actually, what I mean is, I have lived there for almost 3 years. Sometimes I say wrong thing when I am nervous. But it has been a good place because it is quiet, and there is a small park nearby where I go running.
What do you like most about your neighborhood?
What I like most is the sense of community. There are small shops and a cafe where the owners, they know my name. It makes me feel comfortable and safe. Also, there are good bus links so I can get to work or to the city center easily. I enjoy that kind of friendly atmosphere.
Now, let's talk about your family. How many people are there in your immediate family?
I come from a family of 5. There is my mother, father, and 2 younger brothers. My brothers, they are still studying at school. We are quite close, even though 2 of them live in a different city now for education. We speak by phone almost every day, and I try to visit them when I can.
What do you enjoy doing with your family?
When we are together, we like to eat meals and talk about what is happening with work and school. On weekends, we sometimes go to the countryside for a picnic or to the beach if the weather is nice. My mother, she cooks very well and I enjoy helping her in the kitchen, although I am not as good as her. Those moments are simple, but they are very meaningful for me.
How has family life changed since you were a child?
When I was a child, we used to live in a smaller town and everyone knew each other, so family life was more together with neighbors and cousins. Now, because of work and study, we are more separated and busy. Communication is mostly online or by phone. But I think we try to keep traditions, like special meals at holidays, so in some ways things are similar.
Now I want to ask about your work or study. Are you working or studying at the moment?
At the moment, I am working full-time as a marketing assistant in a small company, and I am also studying part-time for a master's degree in communications. It is quite busy balance, sometimes it is stressful, but I feel it is important for my career. I like that the study complements my job.
Why did you choose that field of study?
I always have been interested in how companies connect with people and how messages can influence decisions. When I worked in a small volunteer project, I saw the effect of good communication and it motivated me to learn more. I think communication is everywhere in business, so it seemed a useful and interesting field to choose.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
I enjoy the creativity and variety. Some days I create social media posts and plan promotions. Other days I analyze data to see how campaigns perform. I like solving problems and trying new ideas. Also, my colleagues are supportive, and we discuss ideas together, which makes work more enjoyable.
Do you think you will continue in this career in the future?
Yes, I hope so. I would like to progress into a more senior role, maybe as a communications manager in future. I plan to use my master's degree to get more opportunities. Of course, plans can change, but for now this direction feels right for me.
Let's move on to hobbies and free time. What do you do in your free time?
In my free time, I like reading, running, and cooking. I am really enjoy to reading, especially novels and some non-fiction about psychology. I often run in the park near my house 3 times a week because it helps me reduce stress. Cooking is something I find relaxing, and I like to try recipes from different countries.
How long have you had these hobbies?
I have been reading since I was a child. My mother, she took me to the library every weekend. Running I started about 4 years ago when I wanted to be healthier, and cooking I began more seriously since moving out from my parents' home 3 years ago.
What do you enjoy most about reading?
I enjoy the escape and learning new perspectives. A good book can make me think differently about life or simply entertain me. I like mysteries because they keep me guessing, but I also read non-fiction sometimes to learn about topics like behavior and social trends. It is a way to relax and to grow at the same time.
Do you prefer to spend your free time with other people or alone?
I prefer a mix. Sometimes I enjoy being alone, reading or cooking quietly, and other times I like meeting friends for coffee or going to a cinema. It depends on my mood and how much energy I have after work and study. Social time is important, but also I need time to recharge alone.
Now we will move to part 2. I will give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Before you start, you will have 1 minute to think and make some notes if you wish. Here is your topic. Describe a memorable trip you took. You should say where you went, who you went with, what you did there, and explain why it was memorable. You have 1 minute to prepare.
Okay, I will prepare. Can I have 1 minute? Thank you.
Take your time. Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. I am ready to talk about a trip I will never forget. A memorable trip I took was to the northern coast with my 2 closest friends about 2 years ago. We went to a small seaside town that none of us had visited before, and we stayed in a rented house near the beach. For 3 days we explored different places, walked along cliffs, swam in the sea and tried local food. On the first day we arrived late and the sunset was beautiful, with pink and orange colors over the water, and we sat on the shore eating fish from a market stall. The next day, we took a boat trip to a nearby island, where we saw dolphins and went snorkeling. It was a little scary at first because the sea was rough, but we had fun, and I remember laughing a lot because one of my friends, she was very nervous, but in the end she enjoyed it. We also met some local people who showed us a secret path to a quiet cove where the sand was almost white and there were few tourists. The trip was memorable because it felt like an escape from city life and it strengthened our friendship. We had many deep conversations, and we supported each other when the boat ride made some of us feel sick. Also, that trip made me appreciate nature and slow travel more. I still keep photos and sometimes I meet those friends and we talk about the small details, which always brings back warm memories.
Right, thank you. Can I ask 2 follow-up questions about your trip? First, what was the most challenging thing about the trip?
The most challenging was the weather, because there was a sudden storm on the second day and we had to change our plans. The boat trip was delayed and we had to wait in a small harbor. It was a bit stressful because we did not have many choices and we were worried about missing the last ferry. But we used the time to talk with locals and eat, and in the end, everything worked out. That moment taught me to be flexible when traveling and not to panic when things are not perfect.
Okay. Second, how did that trip change the way you travel now?
Since that trip, I try to plan less strictly and allow more time for unexpected events. I also learned to pack a little more prepared with extra clothes and some medicines for seasickness. Another change is that I prefer to include local experiences, like talking with residents or trying small family-run restaurants, because those moments were the most memorable. I think I travel with more curiosity now and less pressure to see everything in an itinerary.
Right, now we will go to part 3. I am going to ask some questions about travel and tourism. Do you think people travel more now than in the past?
Yes, I think people travel more now than before. There are many reasons. Flights are often cheaper, information is easier to find online, and people have more disposable income in some places. Social media also encourages travel because we see friends and influencers visiting different countries. However, this is not equal everywhere, and some people still cannot travel because of cost or work constraints. But overall, travel has become more accessible for a larger number of people.
Why do some people prefer to travel alone, while others like group travel?
People travel alone for independence and self-discovery. When someone travels alone, they can choose their own pace, meet new people, and perhaps challenge themselves. On the other hand, group travel is preferred for safety, shared costs, and social enjoyment. Some travelers like group tours because everything is organized and they can relax without worrying about logistics. It also depends on personality. Extroverts might enjoy company, while introverts sometimes prefer solitude.
How does tourism affect local communities?
Tourism has both positive and negative effects. Positively, it can create jobs, bring money to local businesses, and help preserve cultural heritage by generating interest. But there are negative impacts too, like overcrowding, rising prices for locals, and environmental damage if tourism is not managed sustainably. In some places, traditional ways of life change because businesses adapt to tourist preferences, which can be a loss of authenticity. So it is important to balance economic benefits with social and environmental protection.
Do you think government should limit the number of tourists in popular places?
I think in many cases it is necessary to limit tourist numbers to protect fragile sites. For example, historical monuments and natural parks can be damaged by huge crowds. Limits can be seasonal or by ticket systems, which helps manage flow and provides funds for conservation. But limits must be fair and benefit the local community, not just big companies. Also, alternatives like promoting less-known destinations can reduce pressure on hotspots.
What role do you think technology plays in modern travel?
Technology plays a big role. It makes booking easier with apps and websites, helps with maps and translation, and allows people to read reviews before choosing accommodation. Technology also connects travelers with local guides and experiences that were harder to find before. But there is a downside. Travelers may rely too much on screens and miss spontaneous interactions. Overall, though, technology increases access and efficiency in travel planning.
How can travel be made more sustainable?
Sustainable travel involves reducing environmental impact, supporting local economies, and respecting cultures. Travelers can choose public transport, offset carbon, or visit less busy places. Companies and governments should invest in eco-friendly infrastructure and enforce rules to protect nature. Education is also important, so tourists behave respectfully. If everyone makes small changes, like using reusable bottles and choosing local services, collectively it helps a lot.
Do you think students should be encouraged to travel abroad as part of their education?
Yes, I think it is very beneficial. Studying abroad exposes students to different cultures, teaches independence, and improves language skills. It can broaden perspectives and help students become more adaptable in a globalized world. However, it is costly and not everyone can do it, so institutions should provide scholarships or exchange programs to make it more accessible.
What might be the long-term effects of mass tourism on World Heritage sites?
mass tourism can degrade World Heritage sites physically through wear and tear, and also dilute the cultural meaning if sites become too commercialized. If these places are not carefully managed, the authenticity can be lost and future generations may not experience the site as intended. Long term, without proper conservation and visitor control, some sites might be irreversibly damaged.
Do you think people's motivations for travel change as they get older?
Yes, motivations often change. Younger people may chase adventure, nightlife, and new experiences, while older travelers might prefer comfort, cultural tours, and relaxation. As people age, they may have more resources but less energy, so they choose different kinds of trips. Also, life events like family or retirement change travel priorities.
Thank you. That is the end of the speaking test. Do you have any final comment?
No, thank you very much. It was nice to talk about these topics and to practice. I hope my answers were clear.
The candidate demonstrated Band 6 level performance. Notable grammatical errors included saying I have been lived there for almost 3 years, when it should be I have lived there for almost 3 years, and saying I am really enjoy to reading, when it should be I really enjoy reading. There was also a small preposition error when saying I am very interested about music instead of in music. These errors occurred occasionally across the test, and while they appeared from time to time, they did not prevent the examiner understanding the ideas. Fluency was generally good with a natural flow, but there were moments of hesitation and self-correction such as, which interrupted speech briefly, but the candidate recovered quickly. Vocabulary was adequate and varied for common topics, with some imprecision in word choice like saying block of flats instead of apartment in one context, and using convenient where perhaps accessible would be more precise. Grammar showed strengths in using simple and some complex sentences correctly, but weaknesses appeared with tense formation and article use on occasion. Overall, this performance matches Band 6 because communication was clear and coherent, the candidate could develop topics and provide examples, and the range of vocabulary was reasonable. However, systematic mistakes with tense and prepositions, occasional hesitation, and some incorrect word forms prevented a higher band. To reach Band 7, the candidate should reduce basic grammar errors, particularly consistent correct use of present perfect and article usage, expand accuracy of vocabulary choices, and improve smoothness by practicing extended answers to reduce pauses and self-corrections. Thank you for practicing with this IELTS speaking mock test. Visit Spinta for more comprehensive mock tests and personalized feedback to boost your IELTS score.